that it was 2 years ago. I was recovering from like a traumatic birth, almost lost my baby when I was pregnant, and
Like,
just a tons of like, thank God he's healthy, he's well, he's 3.5. But I was recovering from like just my whole life, basically, like this traumatic birth and depression and chronic pain, and just carrying around resentment around about family members, and tons of just depression, and you name it, like all this stuff. And I had learned enough over the course of my journey. I started reading self-development and all those books when I was like 15. You could find me any given day, like in Barnes and Noble, just in that section, reading the stuff. And I worked in a psychic bookstore, and I read all the, astral projection and meditation and all of that stuff from a very young age. And so I knew enough rationally, and I'd been learning Torah for the last like 15 or 16 years, not the way you did, not in yeshiva all day, but like always with a stack of Torah books open and always making time for it, and, really, really deeply connected. And so I knew that I didn't want to spend my life feeling like this. I knew I just didn't want to live that way. And so I took the time to just get better that year. And I started going to doctors. And the first doctor I went to was Dr. Andrew David Schiller, who maybe you know.
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So I found him, and I went into his office, and I'm sitting across from him at the desk, and I just started crying because I knew he was going to help me. And
He's such a
he
sweetheart.
is so sweet. He's since become a friend. They've been here for Shabbat. I'm so grateful for him in my life. And I sat down at his desk in his office in Jerusalem, and we spoke, and he asked me like, what I do. And I said, I'm staying home, taking care of my 4 kids. And like, that's what I'm going to do. And he's like, well, what are you passionate about? I'm like, I'm passionate about chopping vegetables. Like, like I didn't really have a good answer for him. And he asked me about my background. I said, oh, I went to some school. I studied education. And, I'm like working on this little book in my spare time, but I don't think I'm ever going to share it with anyone. And he got down to the root of all of that. And he told me that until I'm ready to tap into my purpose and find my purpose and live my purpose, I'm going to be struggling. He said there's a patient that can have an identical x-ray to, patient A and patient B. If patient B wakes up with a sense of purpose, they will not feel pain, or they will not notice. Let's say that they won't notice the pain in the same way, and therefore it won't feed on itself. So I started learning about the science of all of this. And he sent me home, and he told me to start meditating, and I was kicking and screaming because the last thing I ever wanted to be alone with was myself or my thoughts, because they're so critical. It was so hard for me. And thank God I discovered Buddhism, because I learned from these teachers, which is completely universal idea, that we can notice thoughts. We are not our thoughts. We are not even our emotions. Our emotions are physiological responses. And so if we can become non-identifying with, like, if we can start not identifying with those experiences, we can figure out who we really are, which is like very Eckhart Tolle. And, we are consciousness, and we're having the consciousness is moving through a human experience. And so I fortunately took the time, and I did the work, and I learned how to meditate, and I found relief, and I started sharing my writings. And little by little, I think, I thought that initially, like, I was on a mission to like teach the world about the oneness of God. And so I wrote this book, and it's a collection of 50 different ideas. And yeah, thank God. It's a collection of 50 different ideas that had influenced me up until that time. It's not highly personal. There's nothing vulnerable inside this book. It's just about my spiritual experience, and it's written in a way that anyone can read it without any prior knowledge of anything. Like, essentially, I had, my atheist friends read it and all of that good stuff. So that was amazing. And I learned very quickly that books don't market themselves. And so I started getting together groups of women to talk about like how we could help each other in our businesses. And I became very intrigued by business. I had helped my husband start his business. I'd been working on some different businesses myself over the years. And it just reignited this interest for me in business and marketing, really like the science of people and helping people in this new way. And then it just became something people asked me to do and asked to pay me for, and that's what I've been doing for the last year or so. And it's turned
That's
into a whole
amazing.
thing and taken on a life of its own. And today I'm feeling a little stressed about it, and I'm being reminded that I need to get back to my purpose.
Uh, it's I totally resonate with that, and your story is amazing, and it's awesome and brave of you to really step into yourself and to like go for it, because that's what makes your life worth living.
Yeah, I was so